320. Let us sing. My precious Savior suffered pain and agony, freely bore it all that I might live. He broke the bonds of sin and set the captive free, all that I might live. Jesus bore it all, to his shining face he bore it all, that I might live. Stood condemned to die, freely took my place, he bore it all, that I might live. Up Calvary's hill in shame the blessed Savior trod, freely bore it all. I with him I live, between two thieves they crucified the Son of God. He bore it all that I might live. Jesus bore it all, see his shining face, he bore it all, that I might live. Stood condemned to die, freely took my place, he bore it all, that I might live.
Thank you, Luke, for our spirited singing. Appreciate that so much. Mike, for our prayer. Appreciate each of you being here this afternoon. This morning, I attempted to get us to open our eyes and kind of be aware of what's going on around us. I encouraged us to wake up, to actually know what's happening and to look for the doors that God opens for us from time to time. This afternoon, Jesus describes yet another situation pertaining to the world around us. I call your attention to Matthew 9:36. Starting there, verse 36 and 37. And seeing the multitudes, he felt compassion for them because they were distressed, downcast, like sheep without a shepherd. Then he said to his disciples, the harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few. Therefore, beseech the Lord of the harvest to send out workers into his harvest. Notice what Jesus says. The harvest is ready. But we got a problem. We don't have any harvesters. We don't have any going out. Now, kudos to Jonathan and his friends there at the Northwest School. They've brought their crew up here, and those are individuals going out into the harvest, and we appreciate that so much. Jesus knew exactly what he was saying here. He knew it would hit home with them because, the farmer stands on ready to get into the field just as soon as they can. It's an urgent situation for the farmer because many times they don't get into the field, the weather conditions turn, and they're not able to get the harvest out. What happens is if you miss it, you reap not. And on a farm, this would be a major problem, be a catastrophe really, and unacceptable. The farmer wants to ensure that he gets his crop in. He'll do whatever it takes to get that crop in. There's a lot of work that goes into that. So to do all of the work, the readying the equipment, the plowing, the planting, the weeding, the poison, tending the bugs and everything. Now it's got to the point of harvest, but you can't get it out because your labor force is not there. Without the labor force there to get it out, it's going to rot in the field. There is a sense of urgency. Likewise, in the harvest for spiritual things, a lack of individuals to go forth. Who's going? who's going. We lack that sense of urgency sometimes as it pertains to spiritual matters. We fail to have willing workers to go out. Well, hey, that old preacher, he only works an hour, hour and a half a week. He can get out there for some, he doesn't do anything all week. He can get out there, What's he paid for anyway? Let him go. Well, the Great Commission, Matthew 28:18-20, is not addressed just to preachers. It's addressed to all of us, of course. And my points today have been, we don't open our eyes to the harvest in front of us. Many times we are blind to any crop that's in the field. And many times we fail to venture even into the field. Paul tells us, to present our bodies as a living sacrifice, all right? And I love Romans 12:1 there. Present your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable to God, which is your spiritual worship. We are to be living, breathing, walking, talking sacrifices. That sacrifice is not a burnt offering, okay? It's not that type of sacrifice. It means that you sacrifice you doing something else for yourself and turn that around and do something for God or for others. You're sacrificing yourself for others in what you do, say. That's the sacrifice. And wherever we go into the whole world, we're to be that sacrifice. And I don't believe we've taught ourselves, to live each day in a mode of working for Jesus, in a mode of being a sacrifice for Jesus. We have not incorporated this admonition into our everyday lives, at home, when we go to the store, when we go to the ball game, at meetings, at work. And we've not taught ourselves, to get into the field as we go. Everywhere we go is that field, and it's a possible harvest there. And we have to be awake, we have to be alert while we're out there. We've not taught ourselves to respond to the football being thrown to us. Because right now I'm throwing a football at each of you and saying, okay, we've got to get out into the field. You take that football and you go. And you're to be aware of what's out there. All of us have that responsibility of being out there, planting and plowing and watering. This is the analogy that Paul uses in 1 Corinthians 3:6, I think it is. Paul says, I planted, Apollos watered, but God was causing the growth. Okay, some of you may go out there in the harvest and talk to somebody and kind of plant the seed. I may come behind and kind of reinforce and water the seed, and somebody else will come behind and maybe do something else, and then God gives the increase. See, that's what it's talking about there as we send forth harvesters into the field. And there's a lot that we can do. And don't think that small things don't count, because Matthew 10:42, Jesus says, and whoever gives to one of these little ones even a cup of cold water, because he is a disciple, truly I say to you, he shall not lose his reward. Surely, we can find our area of work within the Lord's kingdom to assist in that harvest. There's a place for everybody in that harvest. Surely we can remain alert to opportunities in that harvest. Consider what it says in Matthew 25:34. Then the king will say to those on his right, "Come, you who are blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me in. Naked, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you visited me. I was in prison, and you came to me." Then the righteous will answer him, saying, "Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you drink? And when did we see you a stranger and invite you in, or naked and clothe you? When did we see you sick or in prison and come to you?" Then the king will answer and said to them, "Truly I say to you, to the extent that you did it to one of these brothers of mine, even the least of them, you did it to me." Surely we can find our niche, our area of work that we can go out into the harvest. There is a place. There is a place for each of us. And if you are a Christian, if you are a follower of Christ, it's mandatory that you go. There's a hurt world out there, and it's getting worse. There's a neighbor that's had a death in the family. There's a friend that's lost a job. There's a family at the hospital with a sick one. There's kids that will go to bed hungry. There's a father or a mother out there praying. The sooner you make up your mind to become a worker for Jesus, the happier your life will be. The sooner you decide to give up yourself and become a sacrifice, the quicker you will find meaning for why you are here. The sooner you make up your mind to the fact that you're a child of God and that it is your responsibility to go, the sooner you will find your purpose for being here. I didn't finish my story this morning regarding the lady that came to church in that old car. It took 3 Bible studies for me with her, and I baptized her. However, I can't stop wondering about her mother to this day. I missed that opportunity, and it still dogs me about that. Upon my visiting with this new sister, she had to go to the hospital, and she called needing a ride home from the hospital, and so I went over there, picked her up, and carried her home. And she had some stuff there with her, and we'd stop by the grocery store too. That's what it was. She said, "Hey, would you mind if we stop by the grocery store?" And I'll be glad to. So I had a bag of groceries, and I was getting out. I was going to take them. And she said, "Oh, no, I can get these." I said, "No, this is pretty heavy. I'll get." No, don't put yourself out, etc. Well, she was adamant. I was adamant. And so we finally got to the door, and she just kind of dropped her head, and she said, I don't have a key to my house." You don't have a key? She said, "No, I climb in my window." And she said, "You just stay right here and let me go climb in the window, and I'll come and open this door." And so I said, "Well, no, I can climb in the window. I'll jump in and just roll down, And so anyway, I went around there with her, and there was a window pane broken out, and she had a piece of cardboard on the back of it that just kind of flipped like that, and she would flip it up and kind of undo the window and raise it up. So anyway, I got in and took the stuff into the kitchen and kind of looked around, and there was no refrigerator, no stove, no microwave. I found out that there was no washer, no dryer. There was hardly any furniture in there at all. There was a small window unit air condition in the bedroom that she stayed in. There was nothing there. I said, well, how do you cook? She says, well, I've got this toaster, that I cook on. I said, well, you don't have any way to save leftovers or whatever? She says, no. She said, my mother and we'd go to the store once a day and get what we needed for that day, and that's all, I said, okay. It took me a little while to process all of this. Okay. The house was run down. The house inside was not. Well, it needed some tender loving care, we'll say. And so it was obvious for me that we needed to do something. And so, as part of our summer work week that was coming up that year, we completely transformed that house inside and out. We got her a new stove, new refrigerator, 2 new air conditioners, washer, dryer, microwave. We completely furnished the house. The ladies of the church there in Rolling Fork decorated the house. And that particular Christmas, they decorated it up really nice for Christmas tree showing in the front window. We got her a coffee pot and stuff, and she actually had started inviting neighbors over for the first time, she said, in her life. She actually had visitors coming to her house. And so she had actually entertained others for the first time in her life, and she shared with them that this was the happiest she had ever been in her entire life. She told everybody in town she'd been baptized and she was a member of the Rolling Fork Church of Christ, and this lady walked around on cloud 9. However, life happens. In John 4:35, Jesus gives us a kind of an eerie warning. He says, do not say there are yet 4 months and then comes the harvest. I tell you to lift up your eyes and see how the fields are already white for harvest. Jesus says, lift up your eyes now. Don't wait 4 months. One reason for Jesus saying that is the fact that some folks may not have 4 months. In the late fall of that year, our newborn sister, was diagnosed with cancer. Treatment started. Of course, we set up ways to get her to church. Arrangements were made to the doctor. We'd ferry her food from the grocery store. We'd help with her 2 dogs that she had. We'd go to the drugstore. We'd run errands. When she felt like eating, we would carry food. I got all of her bills set up on a monthly draft so she wouldn't have to fool with those. Then a couple of months after that, not really a full year after becoming a Christian, she has another surgery and slips into a coma, and she dies in her sleep. I preached her funeral, and it had been less than a year. Before she had died, she had visited She had, give me a second. Before she had died, she had visited an attorney in town. And she had executed a warranty deed on her house and had given it to the Rolling Fork Church of Christ. She had told her attorney and several other witnesses that the Church of Christ there in Rolling Fork was her family. And she wanted her church family to have her house and do with it what they felt like should be done. Now, if you will remember this morning, a 93-year-old lady, member of the church there, had invited this lady to church. Now, that's how all of this came about. And the year that we had Judy, it was a great year with her. We had a lot of fun. She had a lot of fun. And we actually saw her living rather than just existing. The house, of course, the church had no need for the house, so we put it on the market, and the house sold for $50,000. Quite a donation. Quite a donation to a small church in the Delta. A very generous donation. A senior saint, 93 years old, still working, harvesting others for Christ. It is my prayer that each of us do the same as we go out, as we meet and greet and do our daily routines. Let's think about our sacrificial life for Christ. And you never know what may happen when you just ask, hey, you want to go to church with me? You want to go to church with me? So it's my prayer that we would be like that 93-year-old senior saint in Rolling Fork, that we would open our eyes to the harvest. You never know what might happen. This afternoon, if there's any who have not been baptized, as Jesus has told us that he wants us baptized, not as a bath removing the dirt from our bodies, but as an act of obedience to him. And it's through that obedience that we show our love to God and to Jesus. If you haven't been baptized, we can help you and assist with that. If you have been baptized and have ventured off the path that you should be on following Jesus, we'll be glad to pray for you, and Jesus will bring you back into fellowship with him. If there's any reason we can help you, let it be made known now while we stand and sing.